You keep waiting for clarity. You keep waiting for the perfect plan. You keep waiting for motivation to strike like lightning. But success does not belong to the inspired. It belongs to the disciplined. And today I'm going to challenge you with something that will explain everything about your success journey. A 60-day discipline test, 60 days. Not a year, not 5 years, just 60 days of controlled, intentional, relentless discipline. Because if you cannot control 60 days, you will never control 60 years. You think success is complicated. It isn't. It is brutally simple. But simple does not mean easy. And that is where most people collapse. Imagine your life as a garden. Every day, you either plant seeds or you plant weeds. There is no neutral day. Every scroll, every skipped workout, every delayed task is a seed. Every book read, every promise kept, every early morning is also a seed. After 60 days, the garden begins to reveal its nature, not in theory, in reality. But there is a deeper, more dangerous truth we haven't touched yet. The 60-day discipline test is not about habits. It is about identity, because what you do consistently becomes who you are. And who you are determines what you attract, what you tolerate, and what you achieve. Most people fail in life not because they aim too high. They fail because they cannot endure boredom. Discipline is boring. It is repetitive. It is invisible. There are no fireworks at 5 a.m. There is no applause when you say no to junk food. There is no trophy for finishing a chapter of a book instead of watching another episode. But these quiet, invisible decisions are shaping your destiny more than any dramatic moment ever will. You say you want financial freedom. You say you want respect. You say you want impact. But your daily behavior votes against your own desires. And the universe does not reward what you want. It rewards what you prove. The 60-day discipline test begins with one rule. You choose one meaningful area of your life and you commit to a non-negotiable standard for 60 days. Health, business, skill, writing, speaking, saving money. It does not matter. What matters is that it stretches you. And here's the key. You do not miss. Not once. 60 days. No excuses, no emotional negotiations, no "I'll make up for it tomorrow." You do it whether you feel inspired or exhausted, whether it rains or shines, whether you are praised or ignored. Why 60 days? Because in the first 10 days, enthusiasm carries you. In the next 20, resistance attacks you. And in the final 30, your identity begins to shift. You stop asking, "Do I feel like it?" and you start declaring, "This is who I am." But there is something even more uncomfortable waiting in this test. When you commit to discipline, you will discover that the real enemy is not laziness. It is comfort. Comfort whispers. It negotiates. It tells you that one skipped day will not matter. It tells you that you deserve a break. It tells you that you've already done enough. Comfort is seductive because it feels harmless. But comfort is the architect of mediocrity. Look at the people around you. Most are not evil. They are comfortable. Comfortable with average income, comfortable with average health, comfortable with average thinking. And average is contagious. If you are not careful, you will inherit the standards of your environment without even noticing. The 60-day discipline test isolates you from that contagion. It forces you to confront your own standards. It forces you to ask, what am I capable of if I stop negotiating with myself? Because that is the real problem. You are too good at negotiating your own potential. You promise to wake up early, the alarm rings, you negotiate. You promise to work on your side business, the day gets busy, you negotiate. You promise to stay consistent, you feel tired, you negotiate. And every negotiation weakens your authority over your own life. But there is a deeper psychological layer here. When you break promises to yourself, your self-trust erodes. And without self-trust, you hesitate, you doubt, you procrastinate. You begin to see yourself as unreliable, not because you are incapable, but because your word to yourself means nothing. The 60-day discipline test rebuilds self-trust. Every completed day is a brick. Every kept promise is mortar. And after 60 days, you are standing on a foundation you built with your own integrity. Think about that. Integrity, not in front of others, in private, when no one is watching. That is where success is born, in the invisible hours. But there is a more dangerous truth about discipline we haven't confronted yet. Discipline reveals your excuses, it exposes your stories. I'm not a morning person. I don't have enough time. I work better under pressure. I need the right mood. These are not facts. They are identities you have adopted to protect yourself from discomfort. Stoic philosophy teaches that we cannot control events, but we can control our response. The 60-day discipline test is a practical application of that principle. You cannot control the weather, the economy, or other people's opinions, but you can control whether you show up, and showing up is the secret. You see, success is not a leap, it is a crawl, a daily crawl, a crawl that most people quit before it becomes a stride. In the first week of your 60-day test, you will feel strong, you will feel proud, you will imagine the results. But by day 12, reality sets in, the excitement fades, the routine becomes repetitive, and your mind begins to search for an exit. That is the moment that defines everything. Because discipline is not tested when you feel motivated, it is tested when you feel nothing. When you do the work without emotional reward, you step into a rare category of human being. You become someone who acts based on principles, not moods. And the world rewards those people disproportionately. In business, the disciplined person closes more deals because they follow up consistently. In health, the disciplined person transforms because they train even when energy is low. In relationships, the disciplined person communicates and invests daily. It is not magic, it is math. Small daily improvements, compounded over 60 days, then compounded over years. But here is the deeper social dynamic most people ignore. When you begin this 60-day discipline test, some people around you will feel uncomfortable, not because you are harming them, but because your discipline highlights their lack of it. They may joke about your new routine. They may call you obsessed. They may suggest you relax. Understand this clearly. Growth disrupts comfortable relationships. If you are not prepared for that, you will unconsciously shrink to fit your environment again. But there is a more powerful shift waiting at the end of these 60 days. Authority, not loud authority, not arrogant authority, quiet authority, the kind that comes from knowing you can command yourself. When you can command yourself, you do not beg for opportunities. You prepare for them. You do not fear competition. You outwork it. You do not fear time. You use it. Time is neutral. It passes whether you act or not. The 60-day discipline test teaches you to weaponize time. Most people waste 60 days without noticing. 2 months vanish in distraction. But imagine if every 60-day block of your life had a clear focus. Imagine stacking these blocks like bricks. After 1 year, you have 6 focused transformations. After 5 years, 30. Do you understand how powerful that is? But there is an even darker truth we must face. Without discipline, success would destroy you. Yes, destroy you. If you suddenly gained wealth without discipline, you would mismanage it. If you suddenly gained influence without discipline, you would abuse it. If you suddenly gained freedom without discipline, you would waste it. Discipline is not just a path to success, it is the container that can hold it. And the 60-day test is your training ground. You wake up, you execute your task, you record your progress, you do not argue, you do not debate, you act. Some days will feel heavy, some days will feel pointless. Some days you will question why you started, but you continue, because you understand something most people do not. Discipline is self-respect in action. When you skip your commitment, you are telling yourself, I am not worth the effort. When you keep it, you are declaring, my future matters. But there is still a deeper layer. The 60-day discipline test will reveal your relationship with pain. You avoid pain instinctively. We all do. But the Stoics understood something powerful. Pain is information. It shows you where you are weak. It shows you where you can grow. During these 60 days, you will encounter resistance, physical fatigue, mental doubt, emotional frustration. Instead of running from it, observe it, learn from it, adapt, because resilience is built under pressure, not comfort. And here is the most important part. You do not measure success by results during the test. You measure success by consistency. If your goal is to write 500 words daily, you do not obsess over how many views you get. If your goal is to exercise daily, you do not obsess over the mirror. You focus on the streak. Consistency is the scoreboard. After 60 days, something subtle but irreversible happens. You begin to see yourself differently. You walk differently. You speak differently because you have evidence. Evidence that you can commit. Evidence that you can endure. Evidence that you are not controlled by mood. And this evidence spills into every area of your life. You negotiate your salary with more confidence. You pursue opportunities with more courage. You reject distractions with less guilt because you know who you are. But there is a final uncomfortable truth about this test. It is simple, but it is lonely. Not because people abandon you, but because few choose this path. Discipline is not glamorous. It is quiet. It is repetitive. It is personal. And that is why it works. The 60-day discipline test explains everything about the success journey because success is not one big decision. It is thousands of small ones. You want to know why some people rise while others remain stuck? Look at their days. Look at their standards. Look at what they tolerate. Success leaves clues, and so does failure. Your future is hidden in your daily routine. So here is your challenge. Choose one area, define one clear action, commit for 60 days, track it, protect it, honor it, no excuses. And when your mind begins to negotiate, remember this. Every time you win a small internal battle, you strengthen the muscle that wins external wars. But there is still one more truth we haven't fully embraced. The 60-day discipline test is not about becoming someone new. It is about uncovering who you could have been all along, under the distractions, under the excuses, under the fear. A capable, focused, powerful individual waiting for structure. And if you are brave enough to take this test, you will not just change your habits. You will change your standards, raise your standards, and your life follows. So start tomorrow, or better yet, start today, because you don't lack talent, you don't lack opportunity, you don't even lack time. What you lack is discipline, and that lack is silently rewriting the story of your life. You can no longer say, I'm just not that kind of person. You can no longer hide behind the excuse of circumstance. You now have proof. And proof changes everything, but there is a deeper, more uncomfortable layer we have to step into now. The 60-day discipline test does not just expose your weaknesses, it exposes your ceiling. Most people have an invisible thermostat for success. They rise until they hit that temperature, then unconsciously sabotage themselves to cool back down. You see it in money. You see it in health, you see it in relationships. They improve, then retreat. Improve, then retreat. Why? Because their identity cannot handle the new level. Discipline raises your thermostat. It forces you to sit in discomfort long enough for your identity to catch up to your ambition. In the first 60 days, you prove you can act consistently. In the next 60 days, you confront your upper limits. You may notice something strange. As you grow, you feel resistance from within. Not laziness, fear of visibility, fear of responsibility, fear of outgrowing your circle. Because success is not just about gaining things, it's about losing versions of yourself. The version that procrastinated, the version that complained, the version that needed validation, the version that said maybe one day. That version must die quietly. But there is a more dangerous truth most motivational speeches will never tell you. Discipline makes you aware, and awareness is heavy. Once you become disciplined, you begin to see how much time is wasted around you. You see how casually people treat their potential. You see how often you used to escape into distraction, and that awareness can isolate you if you're not careful. So what do? You develop compassion without lowering your standards. That is maturity. You do not judge others. You simply refuse to join them in mediocrity. Because now you understand something profound. Discipline is not punishment. It is freedom. Freedom from impulse, freedom from regret, freedom from chaos. Chaos is expensive, financially, emotionally, spiritually. Think about the cost of undisciplined living. Late fees, missed opportunities, broken trust, unfinished projects, strained health. These are not accidents. They are the compound interest of small daily negligence. The 60-day discipline test interrupts that cycle. But there is another truth we have not yet confronted. Discipline sharpens perception. When you train yourself to show up daily, you begin to notice patterns. You notice which hours are your strongest. You notice which habits drain you. You notice which people energize you and which ones subtly sabotage you. And this clarity gives you leverage. Most people live reactively. They wait for emotion, for permission, for the right moment. But disciplined individuals operate strategically. They design their environment. They remove friction. They build systems. They don't rely on willpower forever. They engineer structure. This is where the 60-day test evolves into a lifestyle. In the first phase, you force yourself. In the second phase, you refine yourself. In the third phase, you multiply yourself. Let me explain. When you begin, everything feels heavy. You push through resistance. You battle excuses. It feels like lifting weights for the mind. But around day 40, something shifts. The action becomes familiar. Not easy, familiar. And familiarity reduces friction. That is when you begin to ask a new question. How can I make this automatic? Because the goal is not heroic effort forever. The goal is disciplined structure that runs even when motivation disappears. But here is a deeper, more strategic truth. The 60-day discipline test teaches delayed gratification. And delayed gratification is the dividing line between average and extraordinary. In a world addicted to instant dopamine, discipline feels like rebellion. You choose effort over entertainment. You choose investment over impulse. You choose long-term over short-term. That choice rewires your brain. You begin to experience satisfaction from progress, not pleasure, from growth, not applause. And that shift alone explains most success stories. Look at any high performer, athlete, entrepreneur, creator, investor. They did not wake up successful. They endured seasons of invisible effort, seasons where nobody clapped, seasons where results were slow. But there is a deeper psychological element most people ignore. When you endure 60 days of disciplined action, you prove to yourself that discomfort is survivable. And once discomfort loses its power to scare you, opportunity becomes less intimidating. You apply for bigger roles. You start the business, you make the bold move. You initiate the difficult conversation, not because you are fearless, but because you are trained. Discipline is emotional training. It teaches you that feelings are temporary, that boredom passes, that fatigue fades. That doubt is a visitor, not a ruler. But there is something even more powerful waiting on the other side. Self-command. The world respects those who command themselves. When you speak with consistency behind you, your words carry weight. When you make commitments, people believe you. When you pursue goals, others sense seriousness, and seriousness is rare. We live in a culture of half effort and short attention spans. So when someone operates with disciplined intensity, they stand out without trying. But let me warn you of something subtle. Success through discipline can tempt you toward arrogance. You may begin to look at others and think, why can't they just try harder? But remember, you once stood where they stand. Growth requires humility. The real power of the 60-day discipline test is not superiority, it is self-mastery. And self-mastery is quiet. It does not boast. It builds. Now imagine stacking these 60-day blocks intentionally. First 60 days, health. Second 60 days, skill development. Third 60 days, financial discipline. Fourth 60 days, communication mastery. Within 1 year, you are not the same person. But here is the deeper and more dangerous truth. You cannot selectively apply discipline. If you are disciplined in business but chaotic in health, the imbalance will catch you. If you are focused financially but reckless emotionally, the cracks will show. True discipline integrates. It becomes a philosophy, not a project. You wake up with intention, you speak with clarity, you consume information deliberately, you rest strategically. And here's the paradox. Discipline creates flexibility, because when your foundations are strong, you can adapt without collapsing. Unexpected problem, you adjust. Temporary setback, you recalibrate. Criticism, you analyze and move forward. Undisciplined individuals crumble under pressure because they have no structure to lean on, but disciplined individuals bend without breaking. There's another layer we haven't touched yet. The 60-day discipline test reveals your relationship with time. Most people treat time emotionally. I feel like I've been working hard. I feel like nothing is happening. Feelings distort perception. Discipline replaces feeling with data. Did you execute today? Yes or no. Did you complete the task? Yes or no. That clarity removes drama, and drama is the enemy of progress. Now let me ask you something serious. If you cannot control 60 days, what makes you believe you can control a decade? If you cannot say no to temporary comfort, what makes you think you can handle long-term success? These are not insults, they are reflections. The 60-day discipline test is a mirror. It shows you who you are when nobody forces you. But there is still one final layer we must confront in this second phase. Discipline creates momentum. Momentum reduces resistance, and momentum compounds confidence. Once you feel momentum, you become protective of it. You do not want to break the streak. You do not want to betray the version of yourself that fought to build it. That is when discipline stops feeling like sacrifice and starts feeling like identity. I am someone who shows up. I am someone who finishes. I am someone who keeps promises. Those statements change posture. They change energy. They change decisions. And that identity radiates outward. People begin to trust you more. Opportunities begin to find you. Results begin to align, not magically, mathematically, but let me close this part with something that may sting. The 60-day discipline test will not make you special. It will make you rare. And in a world drowning in distraction, rare is powerful. So if you have already completed one cycle, do not celebrate too long. Start another. Raise the standard. Increase the difficulty. Deepen the focus. Because discipline is not a destination, it is a way of living. And the moment you stop testing yourself, comfort begins negotiating again.